Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. Ravakulusu. Uh, I'm coming tonight to continue our series on what is in your cup. We talked about concentration. The U now stands for the unselfish activity in the purpose of life. First, we will refresh what we have done so far. We kind of seen how important it is to be focused and concentrated in education, in our work, and in our relationship, every which way, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is how the social media is really throwing so many things to distract us, not with any uh, nefarious intentions, but to sell their products, right? So uh, understanding the effect of this distraction and the harmful effects of social media on our mind, on our attention, on concentration, we can modify our viewing habits or do some meditation to get back our attention. So learn a good behavior to offset whatever is happening with the exposure to things like that, right? That was the summary of that, but there were two books I suggested. One is by Daniel Goleman, it's a focus, another by a Russian. His name is difficult for me to say. Is The name is Flow. Okay, both are very good books. I hope people get to read them. If you have any doubts, direct message me and I will help you to find them. Okay, they're there on the Kindle, so you can easily get them. Okay. So that was the concentration. By the way, what we are talking about here is what is in the cup meat, what is hidden within us. These three powers I was showing. Concentration is something that we can learn and practice and be good at it and be productive and be really enjoying our work also. Once you're in flow state, you really enjoy the work too. So that's why that power can be unleashed. The second power is we are talking about today is that unselfish activity. This was talked about by many people, but we are in a era where everything is for something that you get to have the return, the money or uh, some profit, right? And that is considered like a normal thing all over the world, not just here only. So the capitalistic system has produced wealth and all for some few people maybe, but a lot of people have to struggle for even ordinary things. But then even if you don't have money, even if you are doing some job that gives you mega resources, you can cultivate this quality of being not selfish at least some part of the day, at least some time of your lifetime. Then you will discover the sheer joy and bliss of giving it from the heart, giving it not according to a plan, but because you feel that the other person deserves it or the society deserves it, and you participate in that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and also what is karma, what is karma yoga, and how uh, it has evolved in interpretation, and different people interpret this karma yoga different ways, right? Well, I'm going to explain to you what I understood and how my understanding also is evolved over the time, right? So you all know that there was this great book Gita was carried on by so many generations, so many around the world. Even the stalwarts in United States have read that. Everybody knows the value of that. But those people who don't know, it's a uh, song from the god itself, that happens in the middle of a battlefield. This warrior Arjuna, he can sorry, he is all prepared all his life for this war. But then when he goes to the war, because it is between cousins, and he sees his own grandpa, his own teacher, his own brothers, cousin brothers, all on the other side, and he really loses all interest to fight them and kill them just for the sake of him being getting some kingdom and then enjoying for the rest of his life. So he doesn't have that. So he kind of loses the nerve and he really collapses in the middle of the battlefield. Then he was given this uh, pep talk by Krishna, telling them that what you are really feeling is not true, and you get to understand what is what. And he tells them about this karma yoga also. He says, you got to do your duty, you got to go and work for the sake of working, and the duty for its sake, duty's sake. Don't worry about the results, but just do your job. And also, an element that he introduced there is, don't think that you are doing it. You are being used by the divine to act as a mediator of doing this job. That means don't have any agency, and also don't expect results. If you can do these two things, then you will be doing the karma yoga. That is yoga like the action. Just karma is action, but when it is done with this spirit of, I'm not the one doing it, but I'm being used as a tool by the divine to execute whatever that is happening. And that's what basically saying, don't have your ego, right? That is the agency we're talking about. Don't have any ego and perform. And also, don't expect any of the results. Be really conscious of what is to be done in your life, in your society, in your job, whatever. Do that with that feeling of, okay, I'm going to focus on the process, enjoy the ride, I don't care what happens at the end of it. That's a very difficult thing for people to understand, and also do it. In India, they kind of, I grew up thinking like karma means something that is written on forehead. They literally said that there was written on forehead, and so it will happen accordingly. So it's all up to your whatever you did in the past that is coming as good results now. But if you had done in the past some bad things, then you'll have bad results here. But then that gave license to people say, nothing is in my hands, so why do you have to do any work, and everything will happen accordingly. But that is a misinterpretation too. That is encouraging laziness, inactivity, and all that. What they said was in the Gita, if you work well, if you really do that karma yoga, your mind will be purified. Then your mind is going to be receptive of the higher knowledge of what you are. You are not just this body and mind, you are that Atman or soul or self within. And once you are established in that, you can handle the body and mind better. And also, that is kind of permanent life force that goes through our bodies and mind. Our bodies and mind may perish, but that life force go on taking other life and all. So that kind of permanence, that kind of awareness that there is a divinity within us and manifesting that also makes you erode that ego. So there is no agent when you're working. And who is working, who is asking for the fruits anyway? That's the agency, right? But then later on, as the so many people came through different countries, and then people have become more about only about body, only about mind. uh, Things have changed, and then now it has become a very very rare thing for people to really be in karma yoga and also purify the mind to know their self. That's a kind of uh, happens to people who are working in any institution, selflessly and contributing, enjoying the work, and also enjoying contributing to other people's cause. And at the end of it, their mind is so clear they can get that knowledge of what they are about, what they are in the interior, like the self. And knowing that, mind being calm and quiet, knowing that true nature of ours is itself is a blessing, because you don't have the movement of thought. And with the movement of thought, all your stress is produced. When that is not there, just you won't be jumping up and down, but you are peaceful, serene, and really enjoy in bliss. Right? They call that Sat Chit Anand. That means reality, which is the consciousness, and that itself is the joy. Ananda means joy. So people who are like that, they are not perturbed by external events that easily, and they are kind of. So uh, even if you take out all these philosophies, look at what happens whenever we do things. Suppose I go to a patient, I see the patient is pain, and then I talk to him and explain to him what is going on, what was the reason, and then also show him what are the treatments available, and then he gets the treatments, and then he has immediate cessation of the pain, but also he knows the course of the disease, course of the treatment, and then he has the hope. He can bear the suffering better once he understands that. Seeing that, even if you are doing your job as something, you can just do mechanically, you can write prescriptions and give it and let him go. But if you interact with him, if you are empathizing with him, if you are telling him some things that he had not heard before, or he genuinely feels that you care for him, and then he gets the strength from that, that itself, that interaction itself, whether you do it or not, you get paid anyway. But if you do it with that conscious, empathetic feeling, then you immediately feel the gratefulness or uh, appreciation, everything in his face, in his smile. And they may say things to if you don't let it go to your head and then increase the ego, that interaction itself is very, very humane, very beautiful thing to have on a daily basis, right? That is the privilege of being a healer of any kind, you know. So if you genuinely care for them and then you don't expect something in return, that is possible. Even you go to a market, for example. I heard a story of this black gentleman. He was featured on NBC News, at one time. What he's known for is he has this beaming smile, you know, and he was smiling at everybody that is visiting the. I think he gives them fish or something, you know. So usually everybody comes to see him, because he kind of sees everybody, and if he knows their name, he will greet them by name. Otherwise, he will give a beaming smile, which they really. And then he involves in small talk. He has no intention of uh, selling more fish or anything like that, because he gets only a fixed amount of money for whatever how much ever. But he doesn't get tired. He comes in the morning and he has smile for everybody that comes his way, whether they buy the fish or not. He will be greeting and treating them. So he has become a big public relations asset to that market, supermarket, wherever it is. I saw that series and I was struck by that when I saw that. Then everybody appreciated that man's smile coming from the heart, because basically he doesn't want anything. He doesn't really care about those stuff. He just cares that you are treated, you are greeted, you are kind of feel good. And so, without fail, all the people really appreciated him. So that human connection, that kind of unselfish activities, results are there for us to do, for us to see in the local. Uh, circumstances, in the daily life. You don't have to be a particular big deal or anything. It can be like that. I have somebody is trying to come here, so let's see. Jason. Yeah. you know, Hi, Jason. Yeah, I'm talking about it. Unselfish activity. Yeah. Yeah, that is the way. I have seen people who are totally unselfish and how blissful they are, and there is a lot of philosophy behind it. You haven't heard what I was talking about earlier. What do you think? Tell me your comment. Your what do you think about? Hmm, hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Let me tell you what we started with, Jason, because we were talking about three powers we have within, and they are, mnemonic of cup. C standing for concentration, U's are standing for unselfish activity, and P purpose in life. More like a philosophical uh, eye of looking at the powers that we all have within and inviting people to experience that. Not that just because they are working for a reason and for selfish, they are bad people. It is not that. It is about hidden powers we have that we can inculcate, like a concentration. I talked 2 or 3 days now, because a lot of people are losing the focus, and we see in the clinic, and also educators are complaining the kids are not having focus. So we were examining social media, what harmful effects it has, and I presented all those data. Okay, now, second thing we're taking up it is, can we be unselfish at least some time of the day and see how good it makes us feel? Obviously, everybody feels that they know about the taste of it. And there are so many philosophies developed around this, and that is what I was trying to tell them as I saw them. You know, uh, so so there is nothing like. Just because people are goal and they want to improve their life, they are doing it. They are not bad people or anything, but there is a hidden power even among them. For example, somebody buys a fruit, and the fruit merchant gives some additional fruit for them just because he wants to be nice to them and he feels good. And the people who are receiving it, they are not beggars or anything, but they appreciate the act of charity. There are so many ways these foundations came into effect in America, and they run major institutions. Otherwise, they would not be surviving. So many aspects are there. But the main thing is, do you realize that's a superpower like that you have within you, and can you tap it? Just inviting people to look into that. Not that they have to do it, but that's my perspective. When you do without agency, when you do without expecting results, that's a whole lot of things. Then a Western civilization, as it developed, everything is like a transactional, But human interaction don't have to be transactional. It could be something more than that. That's why we're presenting this. You know.
talking about.
Yeah.
I have no objections. And one of the reasons why that people have lost focus,
Hmm.
well, actually, let's just not say all people. Let's just say there's a population and movement of unconcentration,
Yeah. Lot of
no
distractions.
concentration.
Yeah, a lot of
So,
distractions. Yeah.
yeah, and it comes from, having too many options to contemplate and test and approve of.
Hmm.
And when that exhaustion reaches to a peak, people just give in to almost anything.
Yeah.
That's why when we look at our devices and the things that we engage with
Yeah.
get us so easily,
It
how
used,
much?
we used to look at technology as the neutral. If the it's not technology, it is us. We can control ourselves. But now, technology has become more like the all our friends in Silicon Valley everywhere. They are devising every day updates and all that. How we can really get to people's attention, get them all these notifications. All that is why technology no longer is neutral. It wants to affect you. It wants to give you free, but at the same time take your attention. This is a concern of the social psychologists and also people who are watching social media. One gentleman I quoted was Daniel Goldman. You know, he wrote an article in Atlantic recently. He was quoting since 2004 when this smartphone has come, and 2010 they took the lot of statistics, and they said the teenage girls suicidal rate has gone 189%. So that's why it's concerning,
Wow.
yeah, there's a, yeah, I mean, I showed them the ways of how to identify these things and be aware, be good citizens of that, and then also spend some time about concentration practices, could be meditation. A lot of people are doing that now. So calm your mind, don't jump into these devices right in the morning. That kind of practical advice we have there. Because once you are really concentrated and in flow, actually you enjoy your work and everything too. That's another thing I enjoy personally, because I always talk about be I pay attention to every action. So I'm in the present of a patient, and next patient I go, I'm present with that patient. That conscious practice has really helped a lot. Not only enjoy the patient encounter, but also I'm not having this brain fog or information overload effects of like my other doctors are, and I help them with these
Well,
things too.
well, for concentration, what I can tell what people, I mean, what I do,
Hmm.
what I've learned from my mentors is that my early morning rise before the sun
Yeah.
rises, my concentration and my awareness is at its best. Once you wake up,
Hmm.
your mind, whether it's groggy or not, is most receptive
Yeah.
for true focus. And that's why I read
Hmm.
in combination with meditation
Hmm.
and my preparation for the day. So my preparation for the day is so important to me
Yeah.
that in order to do the best of what my profession is, not my job,
Yeah.
my profession,
That's
my
true.
profession
Yeah. That's
is the focus.
yeah.
I get paid for specialty.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people are kind of divided on what's my specialty.
Mm.
I try to define my specialty according to my purpose. No,
Yeah.
your purpose is to be an excellent human being, to
Mm.
use the best of your abilities and decisions and tools for your human experience. That's your number one
True,
purpose.
true,
And
true. Yeah, I mean that
everything outside of that is subjective.
morning
Yeah.
hours, Jason. I talked about that too. Not only in the morning, but at night time also. Keep some distance from the devices, like a half an hour, 1 hour before. Shut them off, and in the morning, don't touch them right away. Just get into your presence and be here with you. And that goes a long way through the day if you can get up in
Takes
the
a
morning.
lot of practice is what
Yeah.
I can say before my time expires.
Yeah.
You must practice to perform.
Yeah, it is a
Just like any
practice,
athlete
training
or
of, yeah, training of the
uh-huh.
mind. Yeah, training of the mind. But these devices are competing for our attention. That's what I'm like kind of warning people, pay attention to the, otherwise they want to take it away. you know Okay. Anyway, thank you for coming up, Jason. Let
Thank
me
you,
let
Dr. Rao. I
yeah,
always enjoy your work.
yeah, sure. Let me talk to the
Thank you.
unselfish activity a little bit more. And anybody has any questions on that, I'll encourage them to come here too. Okay. So Jason is a good friend of ours. He is a regular on the Wisdom app. Please follow him, and he has a very commonsensical, practical viewpoint. I enjoy. You know? That's true. For the attention in the morning, I talked extensively about that, how that morning hour is important. Let's come back to our topic of the day, this unselfish activity. I want to tell you something I read about what are they called uh, ways of life as envisioned by the ancients, in the ancient India, in this case. They said there are four ways people can live. You can choose anything you want. One is to just to, earn money or and things or fame, but whatever you want to earn, you can spend your lifetime for that. uh, and then, but you have to do them in a righteous way. So first one is dharma. Dharma means righteous way. Second one is artha. Artha means that is wealth. Wealth in any form, not just only money, but buildings, but also, wanting to earn fame, wanting to earn a lot of name and all that, right? Or get a status in the society, like you want to become a prime minister, something like that, right? All those things have, uh, considered to be wealth. But the problem with that is you are happy pursuing that, but if you notice, after you attained whatever you wanted to attain, it loses the the punch that he had when it is pursuing. So you want to become something, and then you work very hard. You are very engaged and happy when you are doing it. Not maybe happy, but you are occupied. But then when you achieved it, uh, immediately it becomes not that great, right? So it's temporary. The fulfillment doesn't last. And the third way of life is people are full of desire, full of uh, wishes that they want to fulfill in their life. Again, the same thing. You can party, you can have a lot of movie going, whatever pleasures you want. They are only pleasurable transiently. Another thing is they can be very addictive too. That's another thing too. So whatever you do in life, earning money and all that one way, and whatever you do to you want to fulfill your desires, and some maybe addictions and all that. But there, how much pleasure you want to have, eventually, if you stay very closely to the pleasure all the time, it loses its taste, right? Like you were saying, 10 movies in a row, you won't be happy as you were at the first movie seeing, right? That's also transient and temporary, and doesn't really give you the fulfillment. But then they had this thousands of years of philosophy of the fourth way of fulfillment in life. You know, this is about transcending your ego and establishing yourself in a energy that we are, that is within us. Some people may call it energy, some people call it divinity, some people may call it consciousness, some people may call it God. So many names are given, like a Buddhahood, Christhood, or in India, Brahman, in Chinese, Tao, all those spiritual, and then really realizing that energy, that is very fulfilling and is a permanent fulfilling. So that is the four ways. One is the righteous way of whatever you do. Second is accumulation of external things or internal things as accumulation, and that is the artha, and fulfilling our small pleasures, small desires, and all that. That is the kama. And the fourth one is this liberation from our own minds, from our own egos, from our own limited way of thinking, that they call moksha. For that, people had done tremendous things. Um, why I was attracted to this was very simple. My friends were really in India, we were looking at this group of yogis. They were not alive now, but what happened to them when they were alive was they kind of didn't have this pursuit of happiness. They had what is called realizing that ecstasy and bliss that we have within, and then contented with that, they didn't have real desires, but they have desire for the upliftment of society. So they kind of marched through the life, producing marvelous things in literature, in painting, in music, and all of that, right? So their activity is definitely unselfish activity because they didn't want any status. They didn't want anybody to say that you are such a big deal. They didn't want to really achieve something and then be happy. What it is they were content, happy to begin with because they were in touch with their inner self. You know, it's like that. It's like a sun that is there, and then a cloud comes our way. Suddenly, the sun is blocked, and then we don't have his direct light, right? And then it may be dark also. But the moment the clouds move, the sun is there, but he's always there. He's always self-luminous, right? Like that, if you have developed thought construct ego that can cover your real self, which is like a your ego is a candle, your real self is like the sun. You know, once you discover that, nobody need to validate you. You don't have to have anybody's approval. You know subjectively within yourself that kind of fulfillment that is already there. They call this uh, it's like a purna. That means completely fulfilled self. That is a whole thing. So there is a poem on that. This wholeness that we have within us has come from the real wholeness of the God. But when you really cut this wholeness, still the wholeness remains. There's a beautiful poem there, to remind us of all that. Anyway, it is not associated with the Hinduism, but several of the people out there, it's not religious. It's more like a knowledge path. That's called Gnana Yoga. That means you are going to get this knowledge about how you can be within yourself completely fulfilled. Then you don't have to expect anything, and you can perform things in this life unselfishly and really be happy to contribute. So they had this saying. It's called first realize yourself who you are, and that's by turning inward and finding this thing, right? For that, you need a pure mind, and for that, you work purely, no selfish desires, and then you keep your mind very pure and simple, and then you can realize this knowledge of your own ignorance makes you think that you don't know what is inside. But once you have got that knowledge that the self is there and you're not knowing it, but you know to be that. That means the sun is there, and we think that he is rising and setting. He is behind the clouds and all, but all the time he is there, and it is all the light and energy is given without anything expected, right? That is a big example that yogis tell us about the sun salutations. That is all because he is the life giver, and so you want to be in synchronicity with that, and also at the same time you imbibe that quality of unselfishness, and then you are already blessed, it's already there, but our problem is we don't know about it. That's the ignorance you get rid of by doing work without any agency and without expecting any result, or even if the results come, you are not attached to them. So that's what the deeper philosophy. If anybody has a questions about this, you can come up and talk to me about it. I will explain more. I hope I have explained to you what it is all. So basically, what it is there are um, four types of yogas they talk about. The highest yoga is this Jnana yoga, knowledge yoga, knowledge of what, knowledge of who you really are. Once you find it, you don't have this simple desires or simple uh, saying that I'm the one who is doing it, or that kind of egotistical tendencies. And once your mind is pure with kind of unselfish activity, you can discover that sun, which is always present. So you don't need to do anything; it's already there. If you can realize it without doing anything, that's fantastic. Otherwise, you have schools around the world, around the several countries, they all come to this in a roundabout way. But then there was a way that you can do it that is explained in India, which really I think I was able to understand and implement it and be the really just simply be who you are. You don't have to know anything, you don't have to become anything if you can be like that. But if you are not, then your ignorance of that fact that your real nature is completely fulfilled self, then you need to really purify your mind and look at those uh, realities that are there. Eckhart Tolle, who wrote that book now, and Our New Earth also. He was a very good man, and I love him because innovative to me was those yogis who are really really understood this. They did a lot of inner, deeper meditation and understood the ways of the mind. And when they finally touched this self, for which more like a samadhi is needed, uh, they are really touched that self, and then they were established. I mean, lot of lack of technology, lack of this informations, and all those things helped them, and they also were very together with the nature, which has sustained this much better, right? And then once they realized, then they marched on the line. They were content and happy with this discovery, and then they were able to do everything unselfishly because they were going and working for the society. So in Sanskrit terms, they said there's like a Atma Mokshadam. Atma means that soul within or the being within. Realize that, and then Jagat Hitacha. Jagat means world. Hitacha means for the welfare or the benefit of the world, you lead your life. Then whatever you do is unselfish activity because you don't need anything to go away from that. On the other hand, if you leave that and go, that's a kind of tragedy. So they never wanted to come out. So they know subjectively how they are feeling. They know what is the bliss, what is that being here and now. And because they are released from the inhibitions of all that, their quality of life was very high. Their quality of academic work, the quality of uh, retaining the memory or projecting imagination to create things for the benefit of others in medicine, in yoga. A lot of healing happens with yogas. The deeper you go, the more you realize how much healing we can benefit from, and they watched the animals and they embedded the qualities of the animals into their practice, and they benefited from that. And they were very close to the nature, and they did have creature comforts, which is really weakening us in modern times, right? So that kind of thing. So that's actually is a part of my big discovery in my life was turning inward and finding that blissful nature and establish that whatever you want to do now is for the service of the world. By the way, they said another thing too. They said the creation, the universe itself is a reflection of the divinity. So they said Ashtamurti, that means eight forms. What are the five elements? Then sun and the moon and all the living beings on the earth. And you can serve all these things without any selfish need, and you are living your life like an offering to the divine, and then you will be a blissful person, a blissful thing that to be around, and people also will appreciate that. Okay, so there's a lot of joy in helping question and answering that. That's much more easier, but I hope you all understood. I think I did the best I can, and I'm going to take up on the third one, which is the purpose of life. What the ancient looked at as the purpose is, as far as they concerned, our real purpose as a human being, which animals may not have, because we have this intelligence that we can turn inward and find out our real self. That is their purpose, really. That's why the human birth purpose itself they define like that. I tend to agree with that. Everything else looks very trivial to me. Because once you really understand what it